Welcome to Growing Tall Poppies, Thrive After Trauma. I'm your host, Dr. Nat Green, and I am so excited to have you join me as we discuss what it means to navigate your way through trauma or significant challenges and not just survive, but to thrive after it. This is a space for people who've been through trauma or adversity, have done some healing, and know they're meant for more than just coping. This podcast is about post-traumatic growth, not getting back to who you used to be. Rather, understanding who you are now and learning how to stand tall without shrinking, forcing, or abandoning yourself. Here, we explore identity after adversity, integrity and visibility wounds, nervous system wisdom, and what it really takes to move forward in a way that feels aligned, embodied, and true. You will hear a blend of deep solo conversations and powerful guest interviews with people who have lived this work, not just studied it. Because growth doesn't come from pushing harder, it comes from understanding how you adapted, honouring your nervous system, and gently updating the old agreements that no longer fit the life you're ready to live. If you're ready to stop hiding, stop performing, and start owning who you are becoming, then you are in the right place. Let's grow tall together. Hello, and welcome back to Growing Tall Poppies, Thrive After Trauma. I'm your host, Dr. Nat Green, and today's episode is a really special one, and it feels really significant. Not just because of the topic, but also because it's episode 100. It's a huge milestone. When I first started this podcast 2 years ago at the beginning of April 2024, I had absolutely no idea how it would go, if anyone would even listen, and what or how it would evolve. I took a leap of faith in myself and in you, my amazing listeners. And I honestly have so much gratitude for all of you and for all of our amazing guests who have been brave and courageous enough to share their story and to show up raw, honest, and real, and show their humanity. And that is what this is all about. So before we go anywhere else, I just want to pause for a moment and say thank you from the bottom of my heart to every single one of you who has listened, who shared an episode, who's reached out, and who's sat quietly on the other side of this microphone and felt something shift inside you. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And I'm also beyond excited to share as well that we're again nominees in the Women Podcasters Awards. And I would be so very honoured if you could vote for this podcast and for me as a podcast expert guest. The link will be in the show notes. So this podcast started as a space for truth, for real conversations about trauma and healing and what it actually takes to move forward. And over time, it's become something so much more. It's become a space for growth, identity expansion, integration, and courage. And today's conversation is one of the most important that I've had. I've just been sitting here reflecting after the past couple of weeks. And I've been really drawn into everything happening with the Artemis 2 mission, watching with great awe and excitement the 4 amazing astronauts who returned from this mission, where they left Earth, travelled around the moon and back, and reading over the weekend about something called the overview effect. And I just paused and thought, this is really interesting. Now, I'm not sure how many of you know this about me, but I have a real love and fascination for astronomy. I volunteer at our local observatory, and I absolutely love connecting with the huge variety of people who come in to learn more, to discover, and to look beyond what we actually see. The stars, the planets, the galaxies, the nebula. All of these incredible things that remind us just how small we really are and how there is something so much bigger than us. And I've even developed recently a presentation about why humans are wired to look at the stars. And it comes down to this: awe and perspective. And that's what led me down the path to this concept, the overview effect. It's what astronauts experience when they leave Earth and look back at it from space. And in that moment, everything changes. They don't see borders, they don't see divisions. They see one interconnected system, fragile, finite, and precious. And what they describe is a complete shift in perspective. Everything reorganises, and once they've seen it, they simply can't unsee it. And I've been reflecting on this even more so because of what's been unfolding for me this past couple of weeks. Many of you know some of my story, and for those that don't, you are more than welcome to go back and listen to episode 63, where I share some more of it. I have received an outcome that essentially said there will be no further action, no continuation, and no opportunity to be heard. And I want to be honest with you, that landed hard, and it didn't really land well. There's a very particular feeling that comes with that moment. It's not just disappointment. It's not even just anger. It's something deeper. It's grief. Grief for what happened and grief for what didn't get to happen. The acknowledgement, the accountability, the chance to have your voice fully heard. And when that doesn't come, it leaves something unfinished, something that your system keeps circling back to. But as I sat with it, I realised there was actually another layer underneath the grief. And this is the piece that I really want to speak to today. Because I don't think we talk about this enough. It's betrayal. Not just betrayal by a person, but betrayal by a system that you believed would protect you. A system you trusted. A system that in many ways you were taught to trust. And when that trust is broken, it hits differently. Because it's not just about what happened. It's about what should have happened. And this is where it runs deep. Because betrayal trauma has a very specific impact on the nervous system. Because when harm comes from a place that is supposed to be safe, your system doesn't just process the event, it questions safety itself. It creates confusion, self-doubt, and and second guessing. Did that really happen? Am I overreacting? Should I have handled that differently? And this is something that I've spoken about before. That experience of being gaslit, not just by individuals, but by processes, by systems, by silence, by lack of response. And over time, that erodes something even deeper. Your sense of trust, not just in others, but in yourself. And I know this not just professionally, but personally, because part of what has been so challenging in this crazy long journey hasn't just been the original experience. It's been the repeated moments of not being heard, of being ignored and then being dismissed, of feeling like I was having to justify something that in my body I knew was real. And that's where the betrayal deepens even more. And then comes a really confronting realization that the system may not be capable of giving you what you're looking for. Not because you're wrong and not because your experience isn't valid, but because the system itself is not designed to hold that level of complexity, that level of humanity, and that level of impact. And this is where many people stay stuck, because part of you keeps hoping that if you push a little harder, say it a little differently, find the right person, it will finally land. And letting go of that hope, that's another layer of grief. And this is where something shifted for me. Because instead of staying in, this isn't fair, I found myself asking, what am I now able to see that I couldn't see before? And this is where that overview effect comes back in. Because in a very different way, I feel like I've had my own version of that. Not from space, of course, but from being stuck inside a system for so long. And now seeing it clearly, seeing how it works, where it protects itself, and seeing where it fails. And that kind of clarity, it changes you. Because perspective doesn't just expand what you see, it actually changes what you feel responsible for. And because once you see something clearly, you can't unsee it. So then the question becomes, what do you do with that? Do you keep pushing down a path for something that may or may not ever give you what you're looking for? Or do you step back, take in the perspective, and choose something different? And this is the moment that I found myself in this past week. A choice point, almost a crossroads. Do I keep placing my energy into trying to get something from a system that isn't designed to give it? Or do I choose something different? And this is a shift that came through for me. Not all justice is delivered through systems. Sometimes it's created by what you choose to do next. And that's where I find myself now, standing at that point and asking, what was this here to teach me? What can I learn from this? And what must I learn from this? And most importantly, how do I use this? not just for me, but to actually make a difference. Because in that same moment that that door closed, another one opened. And as it did, I've been given another opportunity to speak at a higher level, to bring voice to what I've seen, not just personally, but across decades of working within these systems and with people navigating these same systems, to contribute to conversations that could actually influence change. And that feels really important. And that changes things. And I'll be honest, that comes with its own weight. Because now it's not just about me. It's about what I do with this perspective. And I want to say this piece because it matters. Moments like this aren't just situational. They're identity moments. Because when you move from being part of something to seeing something clearly, there is risk in that. Your nervous system feels that. And there are highly likely parts of you that might say, stay quiet, don't rock the boat, and keep yourself safe. And that's not weakness. That's protection. And this is where I felt something shift in me and in my identity, from someone waiting to be heard to someone who no longer needs permission to speak. And if you're listening to this and something in your life hasn't been resolved in the way that you hoped, I want to gently offer you this. There may come a point where the question changes from how do I get justice to what do I want to do with what I now know? Yeah, just let that one land for a bit. And I want to be really clear here. This is not about bypassing the pain. Absolutely not. There's been plenty of that. And it's not about saying it doesn't matter, because it does. What happened does matter. What didn't happen does matter. Your experience matters. But staying in the fight for something that may never come, that just keeps your system activated, stuck and waiting. So this is where the deeper work begins. Not in changing the past, but in supporting your system to process what happened, release what's still being held, and reconnect with a sense of safety and self-trust. Because your voice doesn't lose its power just because a system didn't respond. And sometimes the most powerful thing that you can do is to stop waiting and start speaking. And I'm not yet done speaking, and I won't go quietly. I'm here to be a catalyst for change, to make a difference where I can, to challenge the way that we view these systems, and to contribute to something bigger than just my own experiences. And I am so grateful that you are here and a part of my journey. And as I close out episode 100, I again just want to say thank you for being here, for listening, and for sharing this space with me. I definitely do not take that lightly. And if this episode resonates, then please share it, because these conversations matter, and they are exactly how change begins. So keep standing tall and keep shining brightly like the tall poppy that you were always destined to be. Bye for now. Thank you for spending this time with me on Growing Tall Poppies. My hope is that today's episode has offered you something more than insight, that it's helped you feel a little more connected to who you are now, a little more trusting of your body, and a little more permission to stand tall without shrinking or forcing yourself forward. Post-traumatic growth isn't about fixing yourself or returning to who you once were. It's about understanding how you adapted, honouring your nervous system, and gently choosing what no longer needs to come with you. New episodes of Growing Tall Poppies are released weekly, every Tuesday, and I'd love for you to continue walking this path with us as we explore identity after adversity, integrity and visibility wounds, nervous system wisdom, and what it truly means to grow forward, grounded, aligned, and embodied. If this episode resonated, I invite you to subscribe, follow, share it with someone that you feel might need it, or simply take a quiet moment to reflect on what's ready to move forward for you. You can also find me on Instagram at Dr. Nat Green, on Facebook at Dr. Natalie Green, or over on YouTube at Dr. Nat Green. And remember, you don't need to rush, and you don't need to hide anymore. Stay connected, stay true, and keep standing tall like the tall poppy you are. I'll see you in the next episode. Bye for now.